In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. Assalamu alaikum. I am Fahim Abbas and welcome to Weekly Roundup. In this program, we will be discussing important political, domestic and economic affairs in the light of sermon of Ustad Mohtaram Sayyid Jawad Naqvi. As always, I am pleased to have been accompanied by Mr. Ali. How are you, Mr. Ali?
Not too bad, Fahim. How are you going?
I am very fine. So, various incidents have happened domestically as well as globally, but first of all, as you all know that Ashura has been commemorated throughout the world as well as in Pakistan. Majalis and processions have been held throughout the Pakistan and mostly it have remained peaceful, but some unfortunate incidents have also happened, which includes attack on the procession in Bawalnagar, and similarly another incident have happened in Indian occupied Kashmir. So mostly the Muharram and processions have been peaceful, but unfortunate incident have happened in Bawalnagar, and as you know that Bawalnagar has been the target of anti-Shia factions for the past 40 years since the rise of sectarianism in Pakistan.
Yeah, actually, as you said, that Ashura was commemorated throughout the world by the Muslims, especially the Shia Muslims, and the rituals part has actually come to an end. Normally, what happens that specific sort of rituals are performed according to the norms of the country or the area, especially between 1st to 10th of Muharram. In some areas it keeps going to 20th of Safar, but as we know that the Ashura is actually, it's a curriculum for humanity and for the coming generations, and it is the path of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. If someone follows on it, then they can achieve independence.
Yes, according to these, every day should be the
Yep.
Ashura, and every place should be Karbala.
Yeah, kullu yawmin Ashura wa kullu arzin Karbala. It is actually in some riwayat it is that it is a hadith of Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam, but if it's not even, it's a beautiful saying, because it means that wherever mu'mineen are present, or if a mu'min is present in whichever area, he should consider it as Karbala, and whatever day mu'min is passing, actually he should spend it as Ashura. And Ashura, as we know that Azadari, it doesn't only mean to perform specific rituals on the specific days. Actually, it is a hadith of our Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, that the zikr of Imam Hussain alayhi salam has got such an energy which will keep giving fuel to the hearts of mu'mineen forever. So it means that actually it is Azadari, it is we can call it a razm. It's not only a rasm, it's actually if we act according to the footsteps of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, then what we can achieve is that we can get rid of the Yazids in the whole world. And the Ashura and Azadari, it will keep going, and it will continue until the last Yazid or last dictator or last oppressor on this planet is vanished.
Yes, and fortunately this Muharram al-Haram has remained peaceful.
Yep.
But some unfortunate incidents have happened, which include attack on the procession in Bawalnagar, and similarly also in Indian occupied Kashmir. Yeah. The attack which occurred in Bawalnagar resulted in martyrdom of 2 mu'mineen and leaving many injured.
Yep.
And this is very unfortunate incident, although government has acted very good in other areas of Pakistan, but this area, especially Bawalnagar, this has been the target of enemies since the rise of sectarianism in Pakistan, when the regime came into power, and then sectarianism flourished in Pakistan, and many families have migrated from Bawalnagar to other cities.
That's
but few families have remained there, and they are carrying on these majalis and processions of Azadari.
Yep.
And now this unfortunate incident also happened, they're targeting them.
Yep. Yeah, it's good on them. Actually, it's a great thing that they are showing resilience, the mu'mineen who are left there. But we should blame the government for it, because government intentionally has been posting in last few years. The news are coming that they are posting such sort of takfiri minded officers in the area, which are actually providing protection to the terrorists. And whenever any mu'mineen or the people who are suffering from these terrible acts of terrorists, they go to register a complaint, no one listens to them. And these officers, actually, let's take the example of last Muharram. Last Muharram in Bahal Nagar, police stormed the houses of Azadars, and they entered inside the houses of Azadars over there and Mu'mineen and tortured them and their like ladies and stuff. So it means that there is some sort of specific or some sort of like different treatment in this Bahal Nagar and Bahalpur area of Punjab. Although, as you said, that in Karachi, in Lahore and some other cities, government performance has been better, but for some unknown reasons, they are not giving attention to this area, and Mu'mineen are suffering over there. You're right.
Similarly, incident occurred in Indian occupied Kashmir, but mostly it has remained peaceful.
Yep.
And as you said, that Ashura and Karbala is syllabus for all the human beings and especially Shias of Imam Hussain al-Islam.
Yep.
And it should be repeated on every day and in every place throughout the world. It doesn't mean that we just commemorate this occasion for 10 days and majalis and processions are taken out and then we just leave this Karbala and Ashura thing for the next coming year. Rather, it should be kept in mind for the whole year, and it is the syllabus.
Yeah, and to make it more effective, and because we know that to make it more effective, we have to get rid of these professionals, so-called professionals who are sitting on members, and they are coming and just not telling the people the right path of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. And we know that the personalities who have actually followed Imam Hussain alayhi salam, they are the actual azadars. In the recent history, the only one cleric, Imam Khomeini, he has practically actually done the exercise of Sarmashq. He has done the mashq of Sarmashq of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, and he has achieved the same goal too. He got rid of the Yazidiyat of his time. 2,500 years of monarchy came into end, and we see Sayyid Hassan Nasrullah. He is the real Azadar. He has challenged the Yazid of his time, Israel. He's giving tough time to them. And who says that the book of the Ansars of Imam Hussain alayhi salam has closed? Don't we consider Qasim Soleimani the Sardar, one of the Ansars of Imam Hussain alayhi salam? So it means that even in this era, if someone wants to become the Nasir of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, as we know that on 10th of Muharram, Imam Hussain alayhi salam gave this nida and called people to come and help him. So we can't just go and finish our Azadari and the mission of Imam Hussain alayhi salam on 10th of Muharram and say goodbye to him, as normally it is a ritual that there is salam offered here.
The shackles of humiliation can only be broken by following the path of Imam Hussain alayhi salam.
That's true.
Well, further moving on, Government of Pakistan has launched a single national curriculum for Pakistan and for the primary section. Initial stages of this curriculum has been launched, and this is unprecedented work on behalf of government because since the creation of Pakistan, there have been several curriculums in Pakistan. Some private schools are following British curriculum like O-level, A-level, and Cambridge curriculum. Similarly, government schools are also having different curriculum like Punjab textbook and other curriculums. And similarly, there has been this socio-economic contrast in Pakistan, and this has been reflected in the curriculum wise. But now this government has taken this bold step of launching single national curriculum, but unfortunately no books have been printed so far. So this has now created a controversy, and it is uneven situation that now schools have to follow this single national curriculum, but there are still no books available.
That's ridiculous actually. I mean, it's a great thing. It's a great initiative to announce single curriculum, and as they said that Prime Minister announced that it is implemented on 17th of August. It sounds really good, but actually when you are not completely prepared for it. And the second thing is that, as you said, that many English schools or foreign run schools, they are raising objections on it. And different religious groups, they've got reservations on this curriculum too, because the religious syllabus or religious curriculum has been formulated by one sect, the extremist Wahhabi school of thought. They have actually totally ignored Ahl Bayt alayhi salam in the religious curriculum, and also so that's why Shias are not going to accept it. And the other minorities, it's ridiculous to make them study the same curriculum of this extremist sort of ideology of Muslims, and they are not going to accept it too.
Yes, there are certain sections of this curriculum which are very controversial, because even non-Muslim minorities have to study this Islamiyat and other things. And similarly, there is a problem in this national curriculum that all the sections of the society have not been taken into confidence, and no planning was actually launched before
educational experts are not consulted properly, and they've just given it to one group of people who were actually in the good books of the government. And if the same people are allowed to publish the books, then it's going to be just disgusting. But
similarly, religious sections have also been ignored, and only one religious section was given the opportunity to formulate the curriculum.
That's true.
And now that's why this curriculum is biased, and Ahl Bayt have been totally ignored. And similarly, other sects like Brelvis are also having some
reservations on
this curriculum. So government have to look deeply into this matter once again, and these sections have to be ignored. And a proper national curriculum has to be launched, and books also have to be printed, because
that's true.
This is not going to work if there are no books available and curriculum is launched. And as we know that new academic year has started, so this is once again going to turn our educational system, which has also been affected due to the pandemic.
And
well, further moving on the global scenario, Taliban, as we all know, that are on the international media, and they have taken control of Kabul, and Ashraf Ghani regime have been toppled by the Taliban. And it is very unprecedented, because no one was expecting globally as well as regionally that Taliban, and even Taliban, it is also surprising for the Taliban, because they were not expecting to reach Kabul so soon. And amazing fact is that not even a single bullet has been fired, and the Taliban have been able to reach the Kabul.
The modern army of Afghanistan, who have got such sort of military equipment, even Pakistan army don't have this, because USA have been training them for last 20 years, and they have provided them really modern state-of-art military equipment. But they just fell in front of Taliban like anything. And Taliban entered into the palace, the presidential palace in Kabul, without any sort of resistance or anything, and this is quite surprising. And but as you said, that because Taliban were not ready politically as well as mentally for this quick capturing of Kabul, that's why they haven't appointed any government over there. There is actually no government in Afghanistan at the moment.
No administration in Afghanistan.
Although
there was no administration in Afghanistan for the past 4 decades, but now it is completely
officially
dark
there is no
scenario.
government. And Ashraf Ghani has fled the country with billions of dollars with him, and he's actually fled to United Arab Emirates, and he's got refuge in Abu Dhabi. And he's got no one was expecting him to give up in such a way, because his dialogues and the way he was talking in media was like exceptional, and people were expecting him to give some sort of resistance, but there is some sort of inside thing involved.
Yes, but interesting fact is that the Taliban have announced the amnesty for all. And they said that we are not going to punish anyone, and even interesting fact is that women are working there, and international media women also being seen there, and Taliban are also enjoying in parks and also going to gym, and this is the new face of Taliban.
They are trying to improve their impression, because people used to think that they are extremist group of people
and
who
they
only know how
to
who only are known to carry out the suicide bomb attacks, and they brutally killed people in their last tenure, and they didn't care about what the international community thinks about them or whatever. And now, as you said, that they are showing their liberal face, and for that there are some videos on Facebook and some social media that they are going to parks, they are enjoying like kids, and they are going in gyms, and they are using the exercise equipments. And one really good thing is that they have, because in last program we discussed that how they treat azadars and how they treat the azadari processions, it will actually tell that how meaningful are the sayings of Taliban, and they have provided
in majalis,
and they have actually provided security, and which is really good. But who knows how long it's
interesting unfortunate fact is that there is chaos and anarchy in the Afghan government, and it is no surprise, because when Taliban previously captured Afghanistan during 1996-2001, they actually brutally murdered everyone, and they were very strict during that era. So Afghani people, normal Afghan people, were just expecting the similar sort of government from Taliban this time. So they have actually entered the Afghan airport, and 70,000 Afghanis just entered into the airport, and they were desperate to leave the Afghanistan. And as we know that
and one military airplane of USA, which had capacity of 150 people, 850 people entered inside it. And there is such drama. Actually, there are reports on media that 3 people were actually killed trying to hang on the tires of the airplane, and one person was found dead after the airplane.
Yes, they were boarding airplane just like on the occasion of Eid in Pakistan. People used to board trains
on the trains or on the buses in Karachi. But we see the scenes over there. And interesting fact is that the enemies or the anti-Pakistan leaders of Afghanistan, they have all arrived in Islamabad, and they are guests of Pakistan. We know that they have always, the people who are in Afghan government, they have always worked against Pakistan, but now Pakistan is hosting them, and PIA plane brought them here.
Yes, another aspect of this toppling of Afghani regime by Taliban is that now Taliban are also having favorable involvement from the international community, and it seems that international community is just ready to accept Taliban, as UK and United States of America have stated that they are ready to accept Taliban, and they are ready to work with Taliban if Taliban just gave rights to human and children and women also,
and work on their agenda as well.
And and similarly China and Iran and Pakistan. So there are favorable involvement in Pakistan, China and Iran, and also
China and Russia. China and Russia, they are actually supporting. They are ready to support Taliban, and also, as you said, that Pakistan and Iran, they've got like friendly relations with Taliban already, because Taliban visited Iran several times. Iranian president gave this statement that he is glad that Taliban has taken over Kabul, because they have defeated the United States in a fantastic manner. And President Erdogan, the president of Turkey, the drama queen, he gave the statement that he actually congratulated Taliban on taking over Kabul, and he said that he wants to build good relations.
There is also celebrations in Pakistan that Islamic Emirate is going to form in Afghanistan, because the supporters of Afghanistan ideologically are more in Pakistan as compared to Afghanistan.
Exactly.
So they are very happy that their government is formed, and Islamic sort of government is going to form in Afghanistan.
Although there's no celebrations in Afghanistan or elsewhere, Taliban have actually banned it. But the extremist groups here, the so-called supporters of Taliban,
the actual celebrations are in Pakistan.
Yep.
But now we have to discuss very important point here, that who are actually Taliban, because we keep on hearing in the international media and similarly uh, in newspapers every day this term is actually used, Taliban. So who actually are Taliban? We have to look into the history of this Taliban whenever Taliban formed. Actually, when we talk about the Cold War era, during the time when post World War II, when USA and Soviet Union were two rising superpowers and they were in close rivalry with each other. So it was actually the era of Cold War, and ultimately this Cold War era ended with the disintegration of Soviet Union in Afghanistan. And actually what happened in Afghanistan when Soviet Union attacked Afghanistan in 1979, so America, instead of using their own military, and they formed Mujahideen from these factions within the Afghanistan and also from the tribal areas of Pakistan, and Saudi Arab gave this aid to form these Mujahideen. So Mujahideen actually fought for the Americans, and interesting fact was that during the last years of Soviet Union stay in the Afghanistan, Mujahideen were even using Stinger missiles, and so Soviets were very disappointed and they actually have to leave because they were economically very
incapacitated and they were not able to continue the
war. They were not able to continue the war, so they have to leave, and so ultimately Soviet Union was disintegrated. But what happened there when Soviet Union and Americans just left? So civil war erupted in Afghanistan between the Mujahideen, and there were various leaders of Mujahideen like Gulbuddin Hikmatyar and Burhanuddin Rabbani, who later became the president, and Gulbuddin Hikmatyar became the prime minister. So in order to counter this civil war, because hundreds of thousands of civil people have been killed, so in order to counter these Mujahideen, Taliban were actually formed, and as in Pakistan and in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and then as Prime Minister of Pakistan has also stated this several times, and then Taliban were actually launched into Afghanistan and they captured Kandahar in 1994, and so ultimately Taliban were able to form the government in Afghanistan in 1996, which is popularly known as the rise of Taliban in Afghanistan. And so in 1996 Taliban government was actually formed, and from 1996 to 2001 their government continued. But later there was another faction of Taliban known as Al-Qaeda. So America blamed Al-Qaeda that they were actually involved in 9/11 attacks.
It came into existence in Hayatabad in Pakistan. Actually, it was formed, and as you said, on 9/11 when there was an attack on Twin Towers, they blamed Osama bin Laden because obviously Osama bin Laden was the actually financial supporter of Taliban and all the terrorist groups. It was actually Al-Qaeda is the mother of all these extremist groups. So actually what happened, as you said, that when when there was an attack in USA, they demanded Taliban to give them, to hand over them Osama bin Laden. And as Ustad Mohtaram gave the example that if you want to invade a house, just leave your hen into that house, and when the hen goes inside, then just enter into the...
It is the reason for you to enter.
Yeah, it will give you
and
the
that's
reason
how
to
America
enter,
came into Afghanistan.
America entered over there. And interesting fact is that even after getting rid of Osama bin Laden in Abbottabad, when they found him, they stayed in Afghanistan for some reason. So actual intention of America wasn't to kill Osama bin Laden or to capture him, but the actual intentions are different.
Yes, and then after this operation was launched in Afghanistan, and then the era of democracy started in Afghanistan, and from 2004 to 2014, Ashraf Ghani, before Ashraf Ghani it was Hamid Karzai. Hamid Karzai was the president, and it was democracy in Afghanistan, and there was celebration in Afghanistan that, and even those Afghani people who are living outside Afghanistan, they were celebrated that now Afghanistan has become civilized, and we have moved from the era of atrocities and bellicose era toward the civilized era, and now we have become civilized. And then after the Hamid Karzai, Ashraf Ghani came into power, and now this Ashraf Ghani regime has also been toppled,
Yep.
and once again Taliban are installed into the
Yep.
Afghanistan. So this is the brief history of Taliban.
Yep.
It started from almost 90s, and now they have reached once again are the rulers of the Afghanistan, and so this is how Afghanistan came into power. And now we will discuss later on after the break that how this ground was actually found for the Taliban to come into power, because a dialogue was held between Taliban and America without even consulting the so-called democratic government in Afghanistan, and then it resulted into Taliban that they came into power without even firing a single bullet. So now we are going to take the short break, and after the break we are going to discuss the hidden perspectives that how Taliban came into power in Afghanistan, and what are the future consequences, and how now America are going to use their new team. So keep in touch with us. Welcome back after the break. As you know that before the break we were discussing the history of Taliban, and now we are going to discuss that the whole world and especially international media is giving the impression that America have lost in Afghanistan, and as we know that Afghanistan is a war-torn country, and America have lost trillions of dollars and 20 years in Afghanistan, but they have not been able to achieve their target. This is what the whole world is giving the impression, and some faction also linking that this is the loss of America, just like it was lost for the America during the Vietnam War in Cold War era. But Mr. Ali, as we know that this whole world is giving the impression that America have lost in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
As you know that Iranian president have also given similar statement. But there is another aspect of this American politics.
Yeah.
We have to understand, just like Imam Khomeini have reminded us that America is devil. So it doesn't seem that America have lost, rather they have changed their policy in Afghanistan. Yeah. And as we know that during the last 20 years, America was actually staying in Afghanistan, and they were responsible for the peace of Afghanistan. Yeah. But now they have just pulled out their troops, and they are now going to save their billions of dollars with their investing on their troops, and similarly they are also saving their troops. But this new game has to be started now, because Americans have not lost in Afghanistan, just like Joe Biden have said that, because there was a lot of criticism on Joe Biden that why he was so hurried in withdrawal from the Afghanistan, and he said that we are actually successful in our mission, and the mission he stated was that we went there to capture Bin Laden, and we have killed him. So but this was not the mission of Americans for coming into Afghanistan. Rather he has not presented his actual
and
mission.
He actually also said in the same speech which he delivered recently, that actually the war which Afghan soldiers don't want to fight, why should our army go and fight for safeguarding the territory of Afghanistan. So actually, as you said, that there are some secrets behind this initiative, because it's quite strange that with this modern sort of military equipment, how can they fall so quick? If America would have stood behind Ashraf Ghani, the situation would have been different. They would have given some sort of tough time to them, but actually the Kabul was evacuated before arrival of Taliban, so it is suspicious. And the reasons behind is, as you said, that initially USA had invested money on these educated Afghans, brought them from different European countries and stuff, thinking that as we know that
most they were actually taught in American schools.
Most of the Afghan officials, their families still live in India and in Europe and stuff, but they had come only to govern here. And America used to think that they will be able to actually act according to the orders of America, and will be able to achieve the goals which USA have got in this region. But This
But
experiment
they were
of
unable to run their own country.
Yeah, this
How
experiment-
they were going to act
Yep.
on the American
experiment
purpose.
actually of USA for 20 years, they came to realize that this government is not capable of it, so they decided to change their team, as it happens in sports.
Yes.
As you see, yep.
Yes, actually a ground was formed for the Afghan Taliban,
Yep.
because interesting fact is that there was democracy in Afghanistan and Ashraf Ghani was in power.
Yep.
But this whole scenario started about 3 to 4 years ago, when the dialogue started between Taliban and America.
Yep.
And the Ashraf Ghani regime was not indulged, and they were not even invited
Yep.
to this dialogue, although there was one representative of the Afghan government, but he is now nowhere,
Yeah,
because he was the chairman of Afghan reconciliation.
Because they had lost hope of this government, because they tried 10 years Hamid Karzai, and the latter 10 years or so were spent by Ashraf Ghani, but they were they had lost hope from them, and they had come to realize that they are just useless people. So for achieving
Yes,
their international
Americans
agenda, they
have
need to
actually-
change the team.
Americans had actually spent billions of dollars
true.
on the Afghan military,
Yep.
training them and providing them with special weapons,
Yep.
and similarly on the Afghan government. But unfortunately, they are unable to.
Yep.
But they are unable to act on the American agenda.
Yep.
So just Americans change their team.
Yep. And in the same way as it happens in sports sometimes, I mean, in our country, the sports have been just destructed by this game of cricket and the poor policies of the government. Cricket is actually the game of Britishers and their slaves. It's not played even in Europe. It's not even considered as a sports. In Olympics, it's not considered as a sport. For last 29 years, Pakistan hasn't won any medal in Olympics and some other sport. Pakistan used to be the champion of hockey and squash and some other games, but this cricket has destroyed everything. And as Ustad Muhtaram gave the example of Hitler, that once he inquired from his government officials that what is the game of cricket, he was explained something about it, and
Yes, they played for the 5 days,
Yeah,
and he
and-
asked what was the result.
Yep.
He said that match actually drew.
That's true. And then he said, oh, this game is going to waste the time of the whole nation for 5 days and with no result. Let's kill all the players. And that's
Now,
what he did.
as we know that Americans have just changed their team,
Yep.
and now they are going to invest on Taliban,
Yeah.
because
And sorry, the example as we were giving of the team, that it happens in sports that if the opponent, if the coach of a team has got the eye on the opponent team, he keeps an eye on the good players of the other team. If the performance of the other team's player is good, then they try to actually purchase that player and try to bring them in their own team so they can perform well. That's what USA has done. They have changed their enemies to
yes, they
their
have
friends,
now
yeah.
turned their enemies into their friends,
That's true.
because Taliban are very much in favor of Americans, because
Yeah.
they are very hard people and they are fighters,
Yep.
and they can fight and they can suit the American purpose
Yep.
in this region in the future, because America have to tackle China and Pakistan. So now Americans
And
are,
Iran and Russia as well.
yes,
They have to.
so Americans are preparing their two teams.
Yep.
One is their military team, which is in the form of Taliban, and other is their political team, which is India, because Americans have just seen that India is unable to
Yeah,
fight
militarily
a
it's
military
not
war,
capable, yeah.
even with Pakistan. And similarly,
Yep.
as we know that there have been few skirmishes between China and India on the border, and Indians were just beaten
That's true. Yeah.
badly. So they have lost the American confidence that they are not going to tackle China militarily.
Yeah.
So they are now just preparing them for political cause, and their military force will be Taliban. As recently Taliban has emerged their new form commandos,
Yep.
Badri 313.
Yeah, Badri 313, and they have actually taken over two big military equipment depots. One is of the NATO forces and one of the Afghan forces. And this Badri 313 is state of art modern
Yes,
force.
they are very modern because unlike other Taliban who are just wearing kurta and shalwar
exactly,
and
their
wasket
specific
and
shoes
sandals,
of khedi and like
they are proper commandos,
they
just
are
like
proper commandos,
Americans.
very well trained, and they are going to control the law and order situation in Kabul. So
yes, at present Taliban have kept them for control of Kabul for keeping peace and for maintaining law and order situation in Kabul. So it will be very interesting fact how situation is going to develop in the region.
And they are going to they are going door to door and encouraging people to come out, go to their offices, and in the news it is that the Afghan leaders have traveled from Kandahar to Kabul, and they've got their heads together and they are trying to formulate what to be the government. Although they have said that there won't be any democracy, they don't favor any democracy, and there's no time in Afghanistan for voting and stuff, and there will be amarat or khilafat sort of system.
Yes, and another interesting fact is that actually, according to the plan devised by the Americans, as they had actually provided them with the ground, actually Taliban have to reach Kabul on September 11, which was actually in the memory of 9/11 attack on the Twin Tower. And so that's why Taliban are not actually mentally ready, and contemporarily there is no administration in Afghanistan. And now the situation and the face of Taliban from extremist, they have changed into liberalism, and now they have become liberal. And because Taliban have now realized this, and it is the need of the hour that international community must accept Taliban, because in the present era, which is the era of globalization, an organization can work, but it is impossible to run a country without the support of international community and without taking international community into confidence.
And this liberal face of Taliban, it's going to actually disappoint the extremist element in Pakistan who are supporters of Taliban.
Yes,
they are celebrating now,
actually.
But they will come to know that actually USA and the European countries, although they take the name of democracy too much and they just cry about democracy all the time, but they don't care if a country is fulfilling their goals, as Mohammed bin Salman is doing in Saudi Arabia. There is no democracy whatsoever over there, but he's acting according to their agenda. He's fine.
To please the international community, as now Taliban want to please the international community, it has very huge price, because this international community is a mammoth elephant, and they just don't care for human rights, because they are the basic oppressors of human rights, and they have launched such political system, economic system, and social system which just oppress third world countries and Muslims.
Values don't mean anything for them. Rules and regulations don't mean anything to them. Only and only their national interest, and what their interest is, what they want to achieve from these underdeveloped countries. And this they have already started to pressurize Taliban. They have frozen all the assets of Afghan government in United States, in Italy, in Europe. They've frozen all the assets, and now they are going to dictate Taliban what they want to do.
Yes, Taliban have been economically crippled, because there is no production of Afghanistan except one thing, and now
except the drugs and marijuana.
Yes, only drugs. So. And talking about the international community, bin Salman is their famous leader and their ideal leader. So Taliban just have to become like Taliban in order to gain the confidence of this international community. So and they have to pay the price for this, and this is also going to disappoint the extremist groups of Taliban in Pakistan, who are very happy that Islamic Emirate is going to form.
They must have taken some sort of tuition from Maulana Fazlur Rahman, the way they are acting and the way they have transformed their politics. Actually, they are going in such a way, and if they act according to his teachings, then probably they might be successful. But as you said, that liberalization is the thing which they are trying to bring in Afghanistan, and even this time around, they didn't force any woman to put on like hijab or something. They've said that they are not going to explode their schools, and they have assured Shia Muslims that they are their brothers, and
they have even participated in majalis, and
that's what you
they have protected processions and majalis programs, and similarly they are also going to other non-Muslim communities, and they are just urging them to visit their religious places, that and Taliban are just giving them assurances that we are not going to stop you from going to your religious places. And another interesting fact is that now Taliban have announced that there will be no democracy in Afghanistan, and there will be Islamic Emirates. And interesting fact is that international community has no reservations on this sort of Islamic Emirate in Afghanistan, as long as Taliban are acting according to the agenda, and they are their better team of Americans.
Because now they care about the international community, and international community or United States. They have got complete hold on the region, and people who think that USA is leaving, USA has they are actually wrong, because USA is only pulling out their troops, as you mentioned. USA is still going to control the region and going to fulfill their agenda through whoever is present here. They are going to control or implement their agenda through their puppets.
Yes, another aspect is that there are few fugitive warlords who have fled to countries like Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and as we know that these are warlords, and war is their source of income, so they are not going to stay silent. And as Taliban are turning into liberalism, because none of the person on the planet would have ever thought that Taliban would ever visit parks and gyms.
So and fight might start in between Taliban.
That's a civil war within Taliban, intra-Taliban war can erupt, and these, especially the leaders of Northern Alliance of Taliban, they can play their role in Afghanistan too.
So hopefully we pray for the stabilization of Afghanistan, and hopefully there won't be any civil war, and the dangers of wars will finish in Afghanistan, and hopefully the people of Pakistan and Afghanistan, because they are correlated to each other. The situation in Pakistan and Afghanistan is directly proportional to each other, so they both will be able to live peacefully, and there won't be influx of refugees like the previous wars into Pakistan, which is going to further worsen the situation inside Pakistan. And we
pray for the stabilization of Afghanistan, because peaceful Afghanistan is in favor of Pakistan, and if this security situation in Afghanistan further deteriorates, then it would be tough days for Pakistan also. And as far as this opinion is concerned that Americans have just lost in Afghanistan, there is another aspect of this opinion that Americans have just pulled out their troops and they are not leaving because their envoys and their spies are still in Afghanistan, and Americans have formed a new team which is in the form of Taliban, and now Taliban have also turned into liberal Taliban, as it has been clear through their actions, and Taliban are also going to form the Islamic Emirate in Afghanistan, and they are also going to please the international community. But the one thing which has to be kept in mind that Taliban in future are going to be the actual team of Americans, in which Americans have invested, and as it is now clear from the actions of Taliban that their latest military teams are also have been formed just like Badri 313s, because America is still present in the region. They have just pulled out their troops because they have to counter China, Iran and Russia. So we will have to see what situation develops in the future. From this episode, it is now the end, and we'll keep in touch with you in the next week. Till then, it's goodbye.